In today's video, we get to see a corrupt sheriff finally get exposed when he gets caught on his own camera system. This is a huge moment for him and all of the people that he has wronged over the years. It makes us want to believe in justice again and makes us wonder why it took so long for him to get caught. It seems like these deputies are doing their routine patrol. They're driving through the neighborhood, just checking everything out, making sure everybody's cool and there's no problems. It also looks like they may be responding to some kind of call because you can see that they are driving pretty fast. You can also see them slam on their brakes. So what they're thinking is, there's definitely something going on here. When they get out of their cruiser, you can see they start asking this guy questions. The main thing that they're concerned about is if everything is okay, if he needs any help, and if he called the cops for anything. He says, "No, I didn't call the cops, we're good." Then they ask him, "So who lives in that house?" To which he responds, "Nobody. That house is abandoned. Nobody lives there." The officers think this is weird because there are lights on inside the house. Then the deputy asks him if he knows how long it's been abandoned for, and he says, "No idea. Only time I come around this way, I don't pay attention. When I do though, I always knock on the door. Nobody's ever there. Lights are never on. Blinds are always closed. All the grass is overgrown. It's just an eyesore." The deputy says, "Yeah, I understand. It sucks. We've been trying to get them to clean it up, but they keep ignoring our notices." He then says, "I hate to let you guys go without finding out what's going on, but I really appreciate you coming by." The deputy says, "Of course. Hey, if you notice anything else strange, let us know, right? Okay. Thanks guys." And off they go. Now, this is where things get interesting. As they drive away, you can see that the cruiser starts following them. Now, these cops were hoping that this was a bogus call, because they don't want to waste taxpayer money. It also doesn't look good on them if they show up and there's nothing there. So they are hoping that maybe the guy lied to them. When they pull into the driveway, you can see them jump out. But they're not jumping out like they're excited. They're jumping out like they're frustrated. You can tell by their tone of voice. They said, "What the heck? Why did we even come out here? There's nothing going on here." Now, in this next clip, you can see them walk back to the car. They're gonna use their computer to check the address and make sure everything is cool. When they run the address, they find out that the house is up to date with all of its utilities. This means that somebody is living there because you can't have power without being hooked up to the grid. This is probably a small town too, because if it was a big city, they would say that it's disconnected or something like that. One of the deputies says, "There's no reason for anyone to live in that house. It's out in the middle of nowhere. There are no neighbors around here. It's not safe. And to top it off, it's condemned." The other officer says, "Oh yeah, no kidding. Well, let's go check it out, right?" Now, when they open the front door, you can see that they shine their flashlights around. Everything is dark because the power is out. But you can see that the blinds are closed, so nobody can see in. One of them asks, "Anyone home?" But no one answers. Now, in this next clip, they're walking around on the outside of the house. They're looking through every single window to see if they can see anyone. At this point, they have no choice but to kick in the front door. They don't know if someone's hiding inside or if someone's hurt, but all they can see is darkness. The officer then says, "Clear," and you can hear some police chatter saying, "We got an open structure. No one is answering. We need you to respond. They got to call for backup, because this is taking way too long. They don't know if someone's inside or if there's a bunch of meth heads living in there, but all they can see is darkness. The officer walks down the hallway, and you can see that he kicks the door open. Then he yells, "Clear." Then he steps inside. Now, in this next clip, you can see that they're inside the house. They're checking anywhere someone could be hiding. They're checking under the beds, between the curtains, and anywhere else they can think of. They're yelling, "Clear," but they still don't see anybody. Now, this is where things take a turn for the worse. When they search the house and they don't find anything, they're going to start searching the property. But when they shine their flashlight into the basement, they're going to see that there's a lot of stuff down there. They say, "Oh, well, this looks promising." When they go further down, you can see that they start finding all kinds of stuff, mostly trash. But it looks like they found a bag with some money in it. They don't know what to do with it, so they're just going to leave it there. Then they're going to find a room with a bunch of computers in it. They say, "Ooh, this is interesting." They're going to start looking through the computers to see if they can find anything, but they don't know where to start. The one officer says, "This is crazy. Someone was living here." The other officer says, "This is crazy," and they both laugh. The one officer says, "If they had electricity, why wouldn't they have been able to see us outside? How could they not know we're out here?" The other officer says, "That's what I was thinking." Now, in this next clip, you can see that they're looking through some papers. They're trying to find out who owns the house. They have a lot of bad intentions, but the problem is they don't know where to start. You can see that one of the officers finds some paperwork that says sheriff. This tells them that the sheriff owns the house. But why would the sheriff have a house in the middle of nowhere? What is he hiding? Now, in this next clip, you can see that the officers are talking to each other. They're trying to figure out what to do next. They don't know how to proceed because they don't know who to report to. One officer says, "I bet you there's a lot of stuff in here we do want to see." The other officer says, "Yeah, this sucks." Now, in this next clip, you can see that they're in the kitchen. They're looking for food or water. They're thirsty, so they open the fridge and they grab a water bottle. One officer says, "Do you think we should drain the water from the house?" The other officer says, "Yeah, why not? Let's do it." So they're going to start draining all of the water from the house, but they don't know how to do it. Now, in this next clip, you can see that they're pouring water out of the sink. They're trying to get rid of all the water in the house, but they don't know how to do it. Now, in this next clip, you can see that they're looking through the freezer. They're trying to find food or water, but all they can find is ice. Now, in this next clip, you can see that the officers are packing up. They're getting ready to leave, but they don't know where to go. One officer says, "I think we should head back to the station." The other officer says, "Yeah, let's go." So they pack up their stuff and they leave the house. As they drive away, you can see that they're talking to each other. They're trying to figure out what to do next, but they don't know where to go. One officer says, "I think we should call headquarters." The other officer says, "Yeah, let's do it." So they call headquarters and they tell them what happened. Now, in this next clip, you can see that the officers are at headquarters. They're talking to their boss, but they don't know what to say. One officer says, "We went to this house and we couldn't find anyone. There was no electricity. The only thing we found was a bag of money. And then we drained all the water from the house. The boss says, "What?" And that's the end of the video. Hey, what do you think? Do you think that the cops should have done more? Should they have investigated the money? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, make sure to stay tuned for more content. Thanks for watching.